Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Apple stock. Now, this has been one of my favorite stocks over the last few weeks, and I've made hundreds of dollars trading the fluctuations on this stock on a daily basis. And you can see that we've had some great runs and sell-offs to trade over the last few days and weeks. But now a lot of people are asking me whether or not it's the perfect time to buy this stock in a long-term context, if it's the best time to buy the stock for the next few years, because I know a lot of you guys like to just buy a stock and hold it and look for that long-term upside. And I want to show you a few key levels that I'm watching on the stock and when I think will be the ideal time to buy a stock like Apple, and especially when I think that this sell-off that we've been seeing over the last few days will be ending and we'll see a large reversal here. So the first point that I want to make is that Apple has been in a huge buying setup over the last few weeks, and you can see that it's obvious that the company has had a lot of upwards momentum, but now we're reaching a point where some days are up, some days are down, and we could even have whole weeks of selling off where it just seems like it's a doomsday scenario for the stock market. And I really think that a lot of that is due to the fact that we have presidential elections coming up and we have a lot of uncertainty with the stimulus package and a lot of other things happening in the market right now. And I was really hoping that Apple earnings, which did happen Thursday last week, were going to be kind of a stopping point for all this uncertainty, and we're going to allow the stock to find a base point where they could rally off of. But instead, it seems like we got weaker than expected earnings from a lot of these tech names, including Amazon and including also Google, where even though Google was bought up, a lot of people thought to themselves, damn, these earnings could really be better. And I think a lot of people were thinking that about Apple as well. You can see we had huge selling after Thursday, and coming into Friday of last week, the market just was not in a good context for any sort of buying. And one of the main things that I actually saw on the daily chart for these companies is the fact that they are just ramping down at the beginning of the morning at 6:30 a.m. when the market opens. They absolutely sell off like a rock and then hold at the bottom for the rest of the day. And that's something that we're not really used to seeing with a lot of these companies like Apple, like Boeing, like Microsoft, that unfortunately reported their earnings and then sold off very heavily following the earnings report. So that's why I'm really worried about these stocks coming into next week and coming into the next few days, as far as considering whether they are still in a selling context or if now is a great time to buy. Now, you can see that we're in an upwards channel here over the last few weeks, and coming into the ends of October a couple of days ago, we were absolutely in a buying setup on Apple stock. And even coming into the Apple iPhone event, I know a lot of you guys were pretty excited about that event, and I actually made a great return trading options when I saw this huge breakout happening to the upside. Unfortunately, I did sell them a little early, but that's why you can never underestimate the power of this stock and the fact that when it does have a green day or red day, it's going to be a huge day. And you can see that's exactly what happened on Friday. If you look over here on the right side of the screen, they lost over $6 of value, around 5% of the company's value in a single day. And this is absolutely crazy, but it also represents a great opportunity to put in a trade. So if you are an inexperienced trader, my biggest recommendation for you is not to try to find where the tops and bottoms are going to be on these companies, but instead trade with the direction of the market. Now, if you were over here and wondering, okay, is now the best time to buy? Now's the best time to buy. You would have lost money all throughout this selling period. But if instead you just sold the whole time throughout this event, you would have been making money this whole time. If you would have bought puts, if you would have sold the stock or whatever, shorted the stock, you would have been making money this whole time. And now you can just sell out and wait till the market shows you that reversal. And that's when you can really buy in and make a profit again when the stock starts heading upwards. So that's my easiest tip. If you're wondering how to trade this company, don't try to find the tops and bottoms. Even professional traders, Warren Buffett, doesn't try to find the tops and bottoms of a stock. Instead, he focuses on buying the direction of the market and just simply investing whatever the stock is showing him to do. So that's going to be the smartest thing to do with any company, not only Apple, over the next few days. But without further ado, guys, let's get straight into what levels I'm watching on Apple and when I think will be the best time to buy this company in the short and long run here. So the first thing that you have to look at is that we are in a selling context right now, heading to around 108.94, and it looks like we really paused towards the end of the day near this 108 level, and we're kind of deciding whether we want to continue upwards or continue downwards. You can see there's a lot of candles grouped up around this 109 level, and what that means is that it is a key support or resistance level where the stock is kind of consolidating before it decides if it wants to head in an upwards or downwards direction once again. So the key levels to watch to know whether this stock will be heading back up or down is to see whether they can break the short-term resistance around 111. If they do travel above 111, you can see it was tested here once when we were actually heading back in an upwards direction earlier in the last few weeks. And again, when we were heading on our way down, it was a great bouncing point. So that's why I think that this level will represent a lot of resistance and a point where you will know whether the stock is headed back in an upwards direction or if we will see more resistance coming into the future. So that's going to be my buying moment. When the stock does hit 111, I will be in a buy position on the stock because that will be the great indication that the stock is heading back upwards. However, we do have to consider a worst case scenario when the stock or if this stock does continue selling off. And for me, that price would be around 104. I think the stock is going to hold very heavily around 104 or even 100. And what I think we will see next week, if there is a lot more selling, is I think we will open into next week. And if there is selling, then potentially the stock will sell all the way to 100, but will have an intraday bounce. So on that same day that it does touch 100 or whatever the lowest price it does touch, I think we will have a huge bounce to the upside following into the end of the day. So just keep a close eye out on Monday and coming into the next week here, just see what is the lowest price that Apple's stock hits over the next few weeks, and that way you know that when that price does hit, you know it's the greatest time to buy, and you know that there will be a big bounce on that day. Now I show you guys a lot of the time melted candles, and when these melted candles do happen, they usually mean that the stock broke out of a range but immediately bought back up to it. And I think $100 to $104 will be the biggest support price for Apple that we've seen over the last few weeks, if it even does sell off to this price. So Monday, what I'm watching is whether the stock can break down to 103. If they do, I will buy at that price. If they break down to 100 on that day, I will buy at that price. I'm just going to be watching for the lowest price of the day on Monday, on Tuesday, because I think the stock market still has maybe a tiny bit of selling left to do before we can really start heading back into a recovering direction. And I think that the market is really going to be paused until we do get elections on November 3rd. So that's why I think we have a lot more selling ahead of us. But unfortunately, if the stock does not offer us that best opportunity to buy at 103, I'll be watching to see whether we can break above 111. And what I think is that the stock will show us this direction in after hours trading. I think that by the time the market opens, we will either be already below 103 and testing the 100, or we will already be above 111. So that's going to be my key indication that the stock is back in an upwards or downwards direction. And I think that if you do get the stock for $100, there will be no better time to buy the stock. There's no way that they're going to be back at 80, at 70, because this company is just too valuable. They're one of the biggest companies on the market. They're included in the S&P 500 in the SPY. And if you've been watching the stock market at all over the last few weeks, you know that this stock has been an absolute monster. They've been running up hundreds of percent, 10, 20% in a day. So if they've done it in the past, they can definitely do it again once the market finds some support and some certainty here, some real clear direction after the presidential election, and after we see a lot of these uncertainty events really leave the rear view mirror of the stock market and of investors. So that's why I think that we really need to wait to see what will happen on the stock. I wouldn't encourage anybody to take a position right now at 108 because it's neither here at the bottom nor back in a recovering context. And I think that's what's going to be most important for traders, is to grab this stock when the clear direction is shown and when the market has tipped its hand on whether or not this stock will continue heading higher, or if it will continue breaking down to 100 or near to those levels. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to be up to date on when I make a trade on this stock, join the Discord, link down in the description, completely free to join for my daily plays and signals. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope your trades are all in the green.